Hello, everyone. I'm Graham Ledger, and welcome to the Daily Ledger. Our cover story, engaged and energized in the Empire State. Voter enthusiasm is high, very high among New Yorkers right now. Maybe it's the Trump effect. Maybe they're feeling the burn. Or maybe, just maybe, New Yorkers are, like tens of millions of Americans, sick and tired of 7.5 years of Barack Obama and an impotent Congress. Bottom line, both Democrat and Republican voters in New York are ready to rumble. A One America News poll of voters in New York questioned, how likely are you to vote in the New York presidential primaries? 73% of Republican respondents answered very likely, but 71% of Democrats also say they're very likely to cast ballots in Tuesday's primary. Now, both Hillary and Bernie are receiving support from the far left, including radical organizations and just plain people who are radical like Spike Lee.
I'm for Bernie from Brooklyn. He's the most progressive person we have running for the President of the United States of America. We got to show up and vote. We got to represent it. Are you tired of being jerked around? Are you tired of being led astray? Run amok. Hijinks. Monkey shine. Shenanigans. Hornswoggled. And I got some Mike Tyson. Skullduggery. Hoodwinked. And you know what's next? Bamboozled.
During her tenure as senator, our 501c3, the New York Immigration Coalition, we worked very closely with Senator Clinton on a number of critical issues for our communities, fighting for comprehensive immigration reform, reducing the backlogs that keep our families separated, sometimes for decades, but also investing in adult education, making sure that people have access to English language classes that can help them add even more value to society.
Now get this, Hillary is pledging to create an Office of Immigrant Affairs if she's elected. How nice. Just what we need to fix the $20 trillion national debt. More government. So, is Hillary safe in New York? And what about this national polling showing a dead heat between Clinton and Sanders? Is it to be believed? Joining me now from Kansas City, Missouri, political consultant and partner with Axiom Strategies, Travis Smith. Travis, the national poll. When I saw that, I couldn't believe it. 48% for Hillary, 48% for Bernie. If you're running the Hillary Clinton campaign, what do you do at this point? Panic?
Well, I think it's something you should be concerned about for sure. But panic, no, not quite yet. I mean, if you look at that poll, I took a good look at it this morning, the Reuters poll. It's more of a track. And so, you know, if you look back at March 27th, not that long ago, Bernie was actually up 6. And then just a few days later, on April 1st, Hillary was up 14. So these things kind of swing wildly. I think the more important thing to look at there for both camps is the trend lines. And the trend lines have remained pretty steady over the past number of months, but it does look like it could be potentially tightening, but we don't know if it's an anomaly.
Well, it looks like the polling in the great state of New York is tightening. That is that Hillary Clinton's lead is slipping at least a little bit in the polling, and Bernie Sanders is moving up. And you have Hillary Clinton, of course, framing herself as a New Yorker, which everyone knows that she's not. She represented New York for a few years, and that's about it. Bernie Sanders, clearly, all he has to do is open up his mouth, and you can figure out he's a New Yorker. If you're running the Sanders campaign, would you play that up for this portion of the race right now?
I think so. I'm still of the belief that Hillary's going to pull it out in New York. But, I mean, gosh, Bernie had 27,000 people at a rally yesterday. Put that into perspective, the Garden only holds 18.
Yep.
So he's got something going there. I think more importantly than, the delegates are obviously vital, but the momentum shift, if Hillary doesn't do very, very well, win or lose, if she doesn't do very well, the momentum shift is not good for her coming out of New York.
Do you think that part of the problem with Hillary is I can't tell you for the life of me what she stands for in this campaign? In other words, I don't know what her campaign messaging is other than sort of what George H.W. Bush was saying back in 1988, and that was stay the course. She's not quite saying stay the course, but she's definitely implying that she's going to follow through with, continue, or double down on Barack Obama policies. Is it too late for her to come out with a singular message that might start resonating in a general election?
I don't know that it's too late. There's some validity there that she should come out with a little more specificity in some of her policies. But I think in general, people kind of know what she stands for. I mean, she is part of the Democrat establishment, if you will. But what I think she would be well served by doing is forcing the Sanders camp to talk about their plan. You know, Barney Frank recently eviscerated Bernie on a number of things, specifically, you know, how he's going to pay for all these things that he wants to give away. So I think that they would be well served by forcing their opposition to explain their plans a little better.
Well, if Hillary takes New York and takes Pennsylvania in big ways, both of them, I think it's very difficult for Bernie Sanders, his pathway to the nomination, unless he can suddenly flip some of these superdelegates, which I doubt. Although we still have California looming out there for the Democrats, too, and that's 475 delegates. It's a huge number. Now, on the Republican side, we have some breaking news for the Trump camp, and that is apparently there has been a shakeup among his management for his campaign, and that is specifically Corey Lewandowski may have been, it's not clear just yet, but may have been demoted or his role may have been modified, and they brought on a couple of new faces in prominent roles.
It's never good when campaigns get bogged down in the drama of what's going on internally. And the media is more focused on the managers and the consultants than they are the candidate and the campaign in general. And so that doesn't bode well for their campaign. But you know, more importantly, it's no secret that the Trump campaign, they're playing catch up on the infrastructure component. They're doing, frankly, very well without having what you would consider a traditional campaign in place. And now, you know, they've come to the realization that they need to put this thing together very quickly, and that's what they're doing.
Do you think that they're bringing these people on board, Trump realizing that he's getting skunked by Ted Cruz in this art of the delegate deal?
He is. You know, I think a lot of his style, if you will, is a little bit fly by the seat of your pants. And, you know, he wakes up every day and says, what should we do today? And, you know, he woke up a little too late on this one.
Okay,
so he's putting it together.
But in New York, he's got a huge lead, and I think that the strategy for Trump is to take that 50%, then he would win all 95 delegates. Obviously, then the strategy on the other side of the coin would be for Kasich and or for Cruz to try and mitigate the win that Donald Trump has and make it come in under 50%, correct?
That's true. And the other key thing to note there is to avoid a Trump sweep in New York, you don't have to pull him down below 50 on the total vote. You have to pull him down below 50 in just one congressional district to avoid a total sweep. So I think there are a few opportunity areas for specifically for the Cruz campaign here. You know, I think that they could do well if the trend lines continue. Donald looked strong today. We've got a little bit of time left here to close some of the gap. I think Cruz will overperform as he's done a number of times in the past few weeks.
And later in April, we have 5 primaries on April 26th, the Atlantic states so-called. I think Donald Trump should do very well. And then it kind of turns to the Midwest and the West, where I guess possibly the dynamic might change once again. We'll keep our eye on it. Thanks, Travis. Coming up next, the truth about Colorado, straight from a delegate's mouth. Also ahead, from Russia with Buzz.
On the deck, below the bridge wing.